Good morning and welcome to Ag Talking to Raw, where I talk raw about agriculture and other things that are on my mind. So we're not really going to talk about agriculture today at all. What we're going to talk about is what's in the news today. So a couple of days ago, some stupid son of a bitch went into a school and shot up a bunch of kids, right? Killed 14 or 15 of them. Teacher, and he shot his own grandmother in the face with whatever he went into the school with. I don't know the details for it because, quite honestly, I'm getting sick and tired of mentally ill people getting hold of firearms and going into schools and public venues and things and killing people. And then you get to read on Facebook about all the crying liberal jackasses that say that guns are the problem, guns are the problem, guns are the problem. Well, I'm here to tell you that guns are not the problem. The problem is on a multitude of levels. You know, when I was a kid, I did something wrong. I was corrected. The manner in which I was corrected was fitting for the crime that I had committed. And the crime being that of being disrespectful, irresponsible, or just a total asshole. So when I was a total asshole, the preferred method of correction was milker hose or my father's belt. Okay? They did have a paint stick. It was about yay long. It was for stirring 5-gallon cans of paint. Lead paint at that point, because we all ate lead paint chips when we were kids. No, actually, that didn't start until about the 1980s, and they still ask today if you paint with lead paint. I don't think you can buy lead-based paint anymore, and I don't understand where these idiots at the doctor's office come off from, but maybe they were just raised a little differently. So, we learned pretty quickly that being a moron was not the smartest thing to be. If you mouthed off to your mother, you got soap in your mouth. If you mouthed off to your father, you got smacked across your mouth, and then you got soap in your mouth. If you, pulled a knife on your sister, you got the belt or the milking hose. The milker hose. I was a dairy farmer. I was raised by dairy farmers, milk cows. I don't regret or held any animosity towards my parents. I just ate something, so just calm down. Towards my parents for smacking me with a milker hose, a belt, or even that Sherwin paint stirring stick. The paint stirring stick was not a problem because that was about yay wide, and it didn't hurt so bad. But that was for minor offenses. It was more of the fear factor of getting smacked with that rather than the pain that it caused. And it wasn't like it was a flat-out beating. It was once or twice. You get whack, and you're done. And you just remembered for the rest of your life not to climb on top of somebody else's car and jump up and down until the roof caves in. Yes, I did that. Yes, I got smacked with a milker hose that time. Yes, my sisters as well. Okay, did I turn out bad? Did I turn out to take my firearms that I own or have owned and gone into the neighboring school, which I hated so much? And believe me, I hated school. I hated every teacher in that school with the exception of three. I still hate those teachers. Yeah, but would I go and shoot up a school because I hate those teachers or because I hated the building? No, and it didn't happen because of me being beaten by or smacked around by my family when I was bad. I learned very quickly that you don't take your gun to school and shoot people. When I was a kid, if you wanted to go hunting at a friend's house, you could actually put your gun in a case with ammunition on the school bus, take it to school, put it at the front office, like where the principal was, the principal's office, and during hunting season, there was no less than 3 or 4 guns up there every freaking day during 6-day firearm, except for day 1, but 6-day firearm, that kids did not bring their shotguns to school to go to a friend's house, and nobody ever got shot or hurt. I remember covering for kids that had shot a deer in the morning before school with guns in their trucks. so that they could take that deer home and get it hung in a refrigerated area or something like that. We covered for one another. Got in trouble too. No big deal. Nobody ever shot anybody. So there is societal decay which is causing this issue. It is a mental health issue. It is a home life issue. It is the lack of respect issue, and that's just it. The funniest thing that ever happened was in the early 1990s. All the schools in New Jersey, and now I'm not sure about other states, but this state is so stupid. They put these lovely little, like, 10 by 14 signs up that said, gun-free school zone. Right? Gun-free school zone. So, if I'm a mentally ill moron, and I'm driving down the road, and I've been coddled by my parents, and I just got done playing Call of Duty, where I have been glorifying killing people all day long, and I do this every day, over and over and over again, and I get this sadistic, weird-ass feeling that maybe it's a good idea to go kill a bunch of people, but I don't really want to die by the hands of somebody else. I want to actually take my own life after I commit all this heinous murder and stuff. Where could I go? Where could I go that there's no guns, that I can kill the massive amount of people as I can? Oh, wait a minute. Is that a gun-free school zone? Oh, well, yes, it is. So let's advertise that. There's no guns here. There is no armed guard at the door. As a matter of fact, the morons at our school, they took the heavy steel doors away, and they put these nice glass ones up where you have to push a button to enter because it's safe, you know. And we're not talking bulletproof glass. We're talking triple pane glass that a 12-gauge shotgun could blast its way through. And that's just that. So now, the sign that should be posted at the driveway and should be backed up with is warning. Staff members are armed, are trained. Any attempt to harm children will be met with deadly force. That is the sign that should hang at the front of the school. If you enter this facility, you will be shot and killed before you ever gain entry. Not gun-free, come kill our kids. None of that. No. We have a lot of war veterans that would just love to protect our children. It would be an honor for them to protect our children by standing guard, being paid to do this, whether they are janitorial staff or teachers. I would never want to arm Miss Hasek, ever. This is a woman that would look down the barrel of the gun, pull the trigger, and say, "Was it loaded?" and blow her own brains out. There's a lot of teachers that I would never, ever, ever trust with a firearm. So don't come on to Facebook and say, "Oh, well, we should arm the teachers." No, we should arm personnel that have been trained to protect, to serve and protect, whether they're retired police officers that when they got to 55 years old and they're just looking for something to do after being retired by from their careers, they could do whatever it is they want because they're highly educated. They could be teachers, they could be janitorial, depending on what they wanted to do. But they should be armed in the school, and when the first sign of trouble comes, they are trained to confront. They are not trained to go and hide in a classroom and wait for the SWAT team to show up. They should be there. Now, if you're that dumb and think that kids will be intimidated by firearms if they see them on a person, well, here's another tidbit of information. How's this sound? Stop invoking fear of something that could potentially kill you and teach respect of the thing that could potentially hurt you. My family, when I raised my first 4 kids, whatever the hell you want to call them, all those children, and even William, there are firearms in my house. Are they locked away? No, they don't need to be. My children have been taught that that thing could potentially kill you. We don't play with things that potentially kill you. I have never had an accident in my house. I have never had a kid, one of my children, point one of these things at another one of my children or their friends or anything like that. They have been taught to respect the firearm, and that's it. So if you're worried about a child being offended by an officer or a teacher or a janitor that has a 45 strapped to his hip, or taser or whatever it is that he has strapped to his hip, then I think it's an education thing. And, oh, wait a minute, we're in a school. Why don't we have a half an hour a day class or once a week class on proper gun safety? You don't bring guns into the school. You could use fake ones, like little dummy guns. They sell them. They sell them to be used in training police officers, military, all that stuff. Yeah, it can be done. I'm sure that the vast majority of smart people would be like, hey, that's actually a good idea, because if a child picks up a firearm at, say, a friend's house, my house, and doesn't understand the proper handling of a firearm, or the possibility of that firearm killing their friend or one of my children, don't you think it would be a good idea that everybody is taught how to handle it or not to handle it? Like that gun could potentially be loaded. I really shouldn't handle it. Like every gun should be considered a loaded weapon, whether it is or is not. Yeah, so I don't have a problem with that at all. Mental health issues. When you have a mental health issue as a child, which for some dumb reason, there's more mental health issues today than there was when I was being raised. It's like we've got a bunch of kids out there that are so emotionally unstable that the mental facilities are just stuffed full and are being filled up and built, having more and more facilities built for mental health problems. And of course they put them on drugs and, send them home and they're like zombies, and stuff like that. That started when I was a kid, but, with Ritalin and stuff like that, which I never took any of that crap, but I would never ask any of my children to take that crap. Mental health problems as a child should be evaluated when they become an adult. Okay, so this latest school shooting, from what I understand, when he was 14 years old, he was picked on relentlessly. When he was 14 years old, he did make mention that he was going, when he turned 18, he was going to go into he was going to buy firearms, he was going to go into a school and shoot a bunch of kids. That's what I heard. Now, is that true? I don't know. If it is true, there's a problem. The professionals have dropped the ball. He was arrested or detained, and he was, they did whatever. But when you turn 18, your juvenile record disappears because now you're an adult. So at 14 years old, he could have went into the principal's office and said, you know what, I hate your guts and I'm going to kill you one of these days. And when he turns 18, you're 18, all that childhood crap is wiped away. You are now mentally sane, and you can go on about your life, buy firearms or whatever it is, go steal firearms. This kid, they really dropped the ball on this kid. He shot his own grandmother in the mouth. Well, where was his mom and dad? That's a question you got to answer. Where was his mom and dad? Well, who knows? Who cares, right? Who cares? Well, I care. The decay of society has created a mess. And as a divorcee, I will say that my children from my first marriage are not what they would have been if me and their mother had stayed together. It was not my choice to divorce. I'm glad that I am divorced from her, but I would have much rather raised my children in a nuclear family and had good children that had a good, strong sense of reality and the way things should be, with a mom and a dad in the household working together to produce productive children. Now, it's unfortunate that everybody cannot have that, like myself, but I have that now, and I'm quite proud of it. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to raise my now youngest son, William, in a nuclear family, and we will be teaching him all the rights and the wrongs and, the realities of the world. Reality is trust no one. Honestly, trust your family, and maybe your closest friends, but there are certain things that you don't trust. Like when you come into my house and there's a firearm, if I see a friend of William's or anybody else's that says, "Ooh, a gun, let me go play with it," that kid has never been around a firearm in his life, because anybody that has been raised around firearms knows better. You don't touch man's gun. You don't touch anybody's gun. It is not a toy. It is not to be played with. It is not something you touch. So when it comes down to killing a bunch of kids, about 3 weeks ago, there was a leak from the Supreme Court, and it is the overturning of Roe versus Wade, where, Democrats and all these crazy people think that it's okay to kill a kid then. I do not. When I was younger, I was like, yeah, well, whatever, it's a choice, you go ahead and make that choice. But now that I've had children and raised 3.5, and now I'm raising William, I look at it like, you know what? If you are old enough to make the decision to have sex and you do get pregnant, you should raise that child. Is it going to be easy? No. It's easier to kill the kid than it is to raise the kid. I can attest to that. It is a challenge that has rewards far beyond your knowledge at the time that you take the easy choice, which is abortion. So what really burns me up about the abortion and the school shootings is that all the people that are pro-abortion are now anti-gun because of a mentally ill person, right? So it's okay to kill all the kids you want, which is over 1 million a year through abortions in this country alone, but it's not acceptable to kill children after they're out of the womb? So because it was violent by a firearm, it's not acceptable. But when they take forceps up through the vagina and squeeze onto a child's arm, a leg, and pull it off to kill that child, that's not violent? I would rather take a bullet than have my arms, legs, head removed by a doctor while I am still inside my mother. I think that the pain is real. I think that child goes through an excruciating amount of pain, no matter what any of these people say. I don't want either one to die that way, anyway, either way, by firearm or by forceps. But I just find it totally amazing that the people that support abortion are now anti-guns and everybody should suffer because we have mentally ill people. And then the next post next week will be, oh, we've got to stop suicide because these mentally ill people are killing themselves. Well, I'd rather have a mentally ill moron off himself than go into a school and kill a bunch of kids, right? I also believe that there should be more education before an abortion is performed on the part of a parent, a child, a person having a child. There are people in this world that use abortion as birth control. It's like, oh shit, I'm pregnant. Well, I better go do this, that sort of thing. But all these people that are now against it, I'm going to read you one right here. It says, after 9/11, we didn't ban planes, we secured the cockpits, secure the schools. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. If you don't support securing schools, there's something wrong with you. Secure the schools. When I go to the Philippines, the most guarded area in the Philippines is a school. They lock the gates, they lock the doors. The kids are in there to learn. They're not in there to get shot. There's armed guards. Nobody ever gets killed. Nobody ever has that problem. There was a person that made a comment on this post, which I know. I was raised up the road from her. She says, or just make it more difficult to acquire an assault weapon. Well, I'm going to read what I wrote to this person because I just find it totally asinine that this person, a school teacher, by the way, would make such a statement or just make it more difficult to acquire an assault weapon. Okay, so I'm going to read what I wrote to her because it's common sense, but I'm pretty sure common sense left the building on this one. Why can't I find that? There we go. All right. So, okay, you're supposed to be smart, right? What is an assault weapon? Question mark. An object used in a violent crime, right? That could be anything. I could use this mug to assault a child and probably kill them with it if I beat them repeatedly in the head. Is it as effective as something heavier and longer and more blunt? No, but it could be considered an assault weapon. Okay, an object used in a violent crime. My preference to kill anything up close is not an AR-15. It would be a 12-gauge shotgun with number 4 buck. That would be the way to go. So ban the AR-15. Next will be shotguns, then 22 long rifles, then baseball bats, then sticks, then stones. How's this sound? Laws don't work on criminals, right? Question mark. Isn't going into a school and killing kids and teachers illegal? I mean, if it's not, it should be, right? So if it's illegal, why don't they just follow the law? Remember Prohibition? What did that do? Oh, it made crime rise. It made crime rise. Illegal alcohol was everywhere, and more of it than there was legal alcohol when it was legal. So let's pass some bullshit law that won't stop a turd from being a turd. You're not very smart. And as my father says more and more often, and I now agree with him, college can't cure stupid. She just wrote back to me. There's no need to be profane. Let's consider this. The illegal guns, mostly handguns, you reference are used in urban gang violence. You are right. No amount of background checks, etc. will help with this since most are acquired illegally. So, point taken, but they have not been the choice of weapon used in school shootings. The perpetrators of most mass shootings prefer the use of AR-15s. They obtain these guns legally. They don't require any training and use the weapon, and they can kill tens of people in under 1 minute. Why not make it more difficult to acquire a weapon used in war? People can turn. They don't use AR-15s in war. Just so y'all know, AR-15 is not used in war. Anyway, people can turn schools into a fortress, but as long as someone has body armor and this kind of weaponry, they will get in and they will kill a number of people before they can be neutralized or before they kill themselves. The Republicans in Florida passed red flag laws. Why not start there? Okay, so a red flag law. A red flag law is okay with me as long as it is a mental health issue, red flag law. Not little Gladys Kravis that lives next to you and hears you yelling at your dog, calls the authorities, and somehow that is considered a red flag because you've yelled at your dog or your child, and then, there's a red flag. Red flag laws should apply to mental problems, mental instability. If a teacher says, hey, this kid just threatened to kill me, and I believe him, they go for a full mental evaluation. If it is determined that this kid has a problem, they go mandatory therapy, mandatory counseling. That's it. You cannot inhibit the right to keep and bear arms as long as they are mentally capable of handling themselves. The problem is that these people do not understand that a firearm that is misunderstood by the masses anymore because people are so scared of the gun is a bad thing. Training a child to respect and understand the functions of a firearm and the consequences of being shot by one of these things is very important. They need to know. They need to know that when you pull the trigger, that bullet cannot be recalled. And your life and someone else's lives will be forever changed. And that's just a fact. There is no returning a bullet once you pull the trigger. And a lot of people haven't been taught consequences for their actions, let alone consequences for actions that are, that happen with the use of a firearm. Like the first thing you read on a box of shotgun shells that you use to go shoot deer with in New Jersey is be aware of your target and what is beyond it. And that is not taught in anywhere other than, a firearm safety course or a box of 12 gauge shotgun shells or 10 gauge shotgun shells or 20 gauge shotgun shells that is used for hunting animals. It says that right on the box. So these people that are so against firearms really need to go to a gun safety course and understand that it is no different than this mug. It has a purpose. Its purpose is to fill with liquid so that I don't have to drink out of the garden hose. It served its purpose correctly. Now, I wouldn't turn it upside down to put it down because that would be misuse of this mug. So I pick it up, I put it back right there. My mom and dad taught me how to use a cup a long ass time ago. And once in a while, I will get careless with this cup and maybe set it on something and it spills and falls on the floor. Those are the consequences of misusing this cup. Did it hurt anybody? No. So when you pull a firearm and you misuse it, the consequences are greater. Whether it's just a hole in your roof, a hole in the floor, or a hole in the door of your car, or a hole in one of your children, or your children's friends, or anybody for that matter. And that is where the decay in society is. It is to criminalize an inert object, not the moron that is wielding it against kids. So, yeah. Anyway, with that being said, I have to respond to this person, and I'm not being profane. I am getting her attention, just so she knows. It's a form of getting her attention. You see, because when you spew stupid stuff like that, you have to have somebody getting your attention. It's like getting smacked when you were bad. Mouth off to your mom. What happens? Dad smacks you, or mom smacks you. What's worse? If you're my age, and I'll be 50, and I will be 50. If you're my age, what was the worst the worst punishment? Getting hit by your mother or getting hit by your father? You see, to me, when my mom hit me, it hurt me more because this is the woman that gave me life, who brought me into this world. Both my mom and dad brought me into the world, but my mother gave birth to me. My mother's not supposed to smack me, right? No. So I remember being hit by my mother being more devastating and memorable than when my dad did it, because my mom was tricky. She was like, "Hey, Wesley, come here. Did you do this? Did you draw on the floor with a Sharpie? A scripto pen?" Yeah, no. Don't you lie to me. Yeah, I did it, Mom. And I remember soft soap. Remember your soft soap? Soft soap will take off scripto pen or Sharpies. That will take that magic marker off. But I remember the corner and I remember the whack, because and I never did it again. As a matter of fact, I never did it again. I wouldn't do it again. As a matter of fact, I don't even like Sharpie pens anymore because they bleed through paper and they get onto the table that you're working on, and then you have to go get soft soap to have it removed. So anyway, with that being said, have a nice day. I hope you enjoyed this one. It is a little different than what I usually do on that channel, but anyhow, good luck in this world.